Hello and welcome to another one of my casualty video reviews. I know I missed last week's, I'm very sorry. I was in Berlin all of last week. I would have got the video to you if I could, but unfortunately I wasn't available to do that. Instead, I am here with a very detailed review of this week's for you guys. I do have some comments from the last one which I would like to highlight if I can find them in this notebook, because Lord knows I've loads going on at the moment. That's all the BAFTA stuff that I like to keep track of. Look at how good that looks. I highlighted with who I thought and who won and things like that. I'm very upset with best film though. I'm looking at that though. Yeah, because obviously Ashok died in the last episode, which was, jokes aside, a shock. But it does make sense for the character as a whole. I did not like, though, how Rash got very angry at Reader, and that, of course, links into this episode. So then, without further ado, let's get right to it. The music of Stevie sleeping with all the pictures from when she was in, I'm presuming it's Ireland, with young Stevie was very different. It's very interesting to watch as well, because Stevie is a very complex character to watch, and a very complex character to try and understand on your first time watching the show. So if you have been watching the show for a while, you'll know Stevie is very complex and very difficult to get to know. So having all these little backstories just thrown in at different points is very good to see. The bar fight was very, very tough to watch, and in many ways, I think a lot of the audience thought that, because I think it was mentioned in the action line message at the end, which was very important. But yeah, very tough message very tough to watch this week. Paige's last shift was a lovely storyline to go with. I'm very happy that they put that in. That's a lovely story, and it's nice to see that Paige is moving on. Unfortunately, that does mean that we won't be seeing any more of Paige for potentially a long while. Yeah, Donna's replacement was long expected and, if anything, a bit overdue. In my opinion, her arrival was right on cue and really could have been done a little bit earlier, in my opinion. And the fear of someone inside the burning building was very lovely to watch, especially the way he ran into the building. I do like how Stevie has settled into the office, which is of course a shame when you consider the end of this episode, but I don't think she will be put in prison, because obviously we've got Donna in prison at the moment, and to have two characters in prison at once is a lot to have to remember for new viewers, which is such a shame, which is, why I don't think they do it, but, I mean, I don't know, we'll see. Charlie's concern is always lovely to watch. Charlie is a great character to watch, and as always, he brings that light-hearted energy that you need in a show like this. Ashok's funeral was a lovely idea, and creates some good drama, of course, between Rash and Reader. I really wish that the argument between Rash and Reader was over by the start of this episode. Like, they fixed it in this episode. I don't want this to be a recurring thing, because I want to see Reader at the funeral. I don't think they do that to us, though. Siobhan is a lovely character, a great nurse. I really, really wish that there'd been some, because obviously there's this relationship there with Charlie. I don't know where the relationship's from. I'd like to know where it's from, and I'd like to get some sort of understanding behind that. The fire added an intense situation in the ED, which is always nice to see. And it does just, like, carry through the episode, which is always really nice and really lovely. The tense situation between Paige and Jodie became very uncomfortable to watch. But I have a feeling I've written someone's name down wrong in here. But I will say that it is something that we got used to in this episode, and it does make sense for their character. Siobhan was great with the mental health patient, and I think that was very important to establish, because of course, we don't know who Siobhan is, but creating her as this trustworthy character by presenting her with a patient like that is very, very important. The use of the name Nurse White and not Jodie was very uncomfortable to watch, but in the same way, it's always nice to hear things like that, because of course she is just a nurse. Well, I say just a nurse, but you know, having that reminder that it's Nurse White and not Jodie to the patient can be different sometimes, and obviously I know they've done that for drama reasons. But in many ways, I really wish they'd bring it back, because in some of the really, really early episodes, they did call nurses Nurse White, Nurse Massoum, whatever. That's what they call them. So it would be nice to see that again. The cleaning of a shock was very difficult to watch, and Rash's cousin coming back as well was a nice addition, and something that was really long needed for something like this, because I don't know whether for long time viewers remembering the funeral of what's her face, Charlie's wife, was a very tense situation to watch, because there was not many returning cast members for it, from what I remember. So that was a real shame. The, right, the incident. Yeah, the situation with the officer's wife. We are I'm expecting it to continue further into the next few episodes, because of course, not Jodie, Stevie was arrested in this episode, so there has to be like a through line to keep it going, and I think the through line will be this situation with the wife, which of course Siobhan is picking up on. Paige's job falling through was very unexpected, really. I got a little bit upset when they said that, but I mean, I don't think there's anything I can do about it now. And considering she said that she was leaving to join them anyway, suggests that potentially she's just gone, hoping she'll get another job anyway, which is lovely to see. Rash's guilt was tough to watch, especially knowing how it ended, with him feeling like he was trapped, because of course he was in the situation with the patient who had Ebola and couldn't leave the room, and then when he got there, he'd gone. He literally walked in when his father died, and it's such a shame. And he blames Rita, which it's not a good thing to do, but I mean, grief affects different people in different ways, and that's just something they're going to have to get used to, I think. The relationship between the two victims was great to watch unfold, so that's referring to the two victims of the fire. We don't know what happened before, we only know what's happened in this episode. And knowing what's happened in this episode, that was a great storyline. And I'm hoping, because of course he has to come back for his foot or his leg or something, you know, that could continue further. The request for another doctor with Stevie was very strange to watch. It doesn't happen very often where we get this situation specifically, and that is why I really, really was happy with it, because we don't get things like that at all in Doctor Who, in Casualty. So to get something like that was lovely. Music in this episode was well put together, and I loved it. The relationship between Stevie and, that's the name I got wrong, Faith, was it's always lovely, but they keep adding to it all the time. And obviously with the current situation of Stevie not being in the best of health, it does just all add up, really. This episode, for those of you who are wondering, does create a semi-cyclical structure by having the scenes from the beginning come back at the end during the scene during the unfortunate scene at the end. And that unfortunate scene happening was a really lovely scene to have to create this lovely, like, semi-cyclical structure. And the semi-cyclical structure is lovely to watch because we see how the characters go from having these memories at the start to having them at the end, and it's like the cycle, and I love things like that. The scene in the hospital with the layered scenes was lovely. I really enjoyed that. The argument between Rita and Rash was very uncomfortable. I'm not gonna say that I want this to continue. I know people who prefer the drama side of it will be like, yes, let it continue, we want things to unfold, but really, this episode created an uncomfortable nature for me. I don't want the argument to continue for much longer. I think they should resolve it in the next episode, because presumably Rash will be back in the hospital next episode. And just circling back, the scene where Jodie stabs the man, I didn't write this down, but I think it was necessary to create that we don't know where the danger's going to come from in a hospital, and you have to act like that, and that is what's important. Ngozie's son's situation was very disconcerting to watch, and it was very upsetting how no one knew she had a son, and then she somewhat had to go at Cam for it when he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know," and she goes, "You never asked." Well, of course he didn't ask, because he didn't know that you had a son, but oh well. Stevie's arrest at the end, like I've said a few times, is very unexpected. I think it's unwarranted as well, but we'll see how that unfolds. I'm presuming it's all going to fall through, and I'm also presuming that Dylan will then become clinical lead again. Once again, I've said this before, we can't have two characters in prison at the same time, because we're just going to have this, like, forced stop for the show. Yeah. And it also shows, this final scene shows a breakdown in the relationships between Charlie, Stevie and Harry at the same time, and that is lovely to watch. And I really want to see what's going to happen in the next one. And finally, I do just want to say, for anyone who has experienced anything within this episode that has made you feel uncomfortable, please go to bbc.co.uk/action-line. For those under the age of 18, you can also go to Childline or call 0800 1111. And finally, I do just want to say this now. Please leave a like, please subscribe, and finally, I'd just like to ask my question of the episode. Do we think Stevie will be arrested or not? Like I've said myself, I don't think she will. I think if it goes to court, it will just fall through. Because she confessed. She may be given like some community service or something like that, but she confessed. Patient's not in any real danger, and if anything, I think it was an overreaction from Harry. So that there is my opinion, and that's me done for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and once again, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.